Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you listening each week. The feedback we're getting from the show has been incredible, so we really appreciate you joining in with us every week. I also wanted to thank you for joining us on the Super Talk Mississippi Network, the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Network. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, it's February the 28th. 2022. Can you imagine that 2 months of 2022 are already gone? My goodness, it's time flies. I love that opening song. I talk about it often. The theme song of Super Talk Outdoors, One Mississippi by Steve Azar. That's the one time we're together when we're in the outdoors. We can put politics and all our disagreements aside and really love the outdoors together. One Mississippi. It really captures the essence of Mississippi. If you haven't heard that song, do a search on YouTube and search Steve Azar, A-Z-A-R, One Mississippi. There's actually a good chance that song is going to become the state song for the state of Mississippi. It passed the House, and it's working its way through the Senate now. And according to Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, who I saw a week before last, it's moving through the Senate very well. I'm happy for our state. I'm especially proud of Steve. Like our Super Talk Outdoors producer, Kyle Curley, said, having that song selected as the state song couldn't be happening to a nicer guy. Steve really cares deeply about the state of Mississippi. You know, on a somber note, I can't get the people of Ukraine out of my mind. Putin is so ruthless. Good Lord. I just want to give a little shout out and a prayer to the people, the good people, the freedom and peace-loving people of Ukraine. What they're having to endure right now is just unbelievable. As a result of the aggression on Ukraine and some of our other policies in the U.S. today, the price of gas continues to go up. That's important, actually, for outdoorsmen and women across the state, especially those who enjoy boating, especially those of us on the coast, in coastal Mississippi who burn a lot of fuel these days running, long runs offshore to some of the most diverse and productive fishing grounds literally in the world. You know, just to give you an example, it's not unusual for me to run over 200 miles in one day, and that's a lot of gas. So my son Jordan and I ran over to the Ocean Springs Marine Mark to fill up the boats with gas, before the gas gets too high. We're lucky we've got folks like Kenny De Niro in Ocean Springs who are focused on being there for us through thick and thin. You know, they're the guys who are, they're like people like them all across the state who are there for the boaters. They make sure that we have fuel. They make sure we have fresh bait. In Kenny's case, man, he's catching some live bait, which is incredibly important if you like redfish and specks in coastal Mississippi. So my family and friends are really appreciative of Kenny and all the others like him across this incredible state who are focused on serving outdoorsmen and women, and we can't thank them enough. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking with Will Primos during the first half of the show, and then Jerry Brown and Keith Mills from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We're going to talk fishing, crappie fishing, but we're going to talk about fisheries in general across the state. So now let's move over to my friend Will Primos, the star of the first true reality TV show, Primos Truth About Hunting, and the founder of Primos Hunting. Great to see you, my friend.
Good morning, Ricky. You're way too generous, and our prayers and thoughts go out to the people of Ukraine. It's just incredible what's going on, and I think about things like this quite often. I just finished 2 books. One is called Unbroken, that was written by Hildebrand, and the other one was Flyboys, written by Bradley, I believe that's correct. And both books are about World War II. My daddy's 97. I had a special interest in these books, and they got suggested to me because my daddy was a navigator on B-24s in the Pacific. And this is about these guys getting shot down. It's about old man George Bush getting shot down and picked up by a submarine, thank heavens. But if you don't read about and know history, you're bound to repeat it. And here we go. And the young people of this world that we live in, the United States, who have no clue what the people before us did is sacrifice to give us an opportunity to be here, for me to be on this show, to have lived the life that I've lived. it puts everything in a different perspective.
It really does. It really does. My wife and I spent some time in Croatia, and to go to places like Dubrovnik and to talk to people who were there when the bombs were just raining into Dubrovnik as a result of what was happening in Yugoslavia in those days. It's amazing how they feel about Americans and how we came to their aid, and they get through difficult times. And I'm hoping, and we can see that happening now, that Ukraine is bringing the world together. And the great leadership of the president there, Zelensky, and what he's doing, and the kind of incredible leadership he is. The inspiration is really the word I want to use, man. The inspiration that he's providing all of us. I think this is a defining moment for the world order, and we could talk the whole show about it, but God bless those amazing people.
And incidentally, I couldn't help but think about the Second Amendment when the Ukraine was handing out guns to the citizens so they could fight. That's what the Second Amendment is all about, keep and bear arms. Our forefathers, our founders knew what they were doing.
They did, and people think that notion of us having to defend our homeland is far-fetched, but who knows? You got a crazy man like Putin out there. Who knows what's going to happen next? And what I was going to say is, incidentally, Ukraine, if you do a search on Ukraine about fishing and hunting, what you find is that deer and boar and bison and duck and pheasant and quail, bears, geese, amazing fishing, some of the best scenes in the world. What a beautiful country that is. And I pray they can get back their, just keep their independence and move forward. Anyway, you spent a lot of time fishing Back Bay when you were growing up, and I was telling you before the show, it's so interesting this time of year when these north wind cold fronts come through. It exposes all the mud flats of Back Bay. You couldn't go anywhere this morning. The tide was so low. It's truly remarkable. But you've seen some days like that, haven't you?
I have. But the moon and the tide, everything that comes together, the north wind and what creates the tides come together all at once, and it can be dramatic.
It can be very dramatic. So, Will, what are you doing? I mean, I know that you are one of the most passionate turkey hunters I've ever met in my life, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But, coming off a deer season, and you went all over the West. What are you doing these days? I mean, what kind of travel are you up to?
Well, I still work for the company. Jimmy Primos, my cousin, and I still do some things for the company. We still are on the TV show. We still do things public relation wise, go to some shows. Jimmy just got back from National Wild Turkey Federation. I did not go because my daddy's 97 and mama's 95, and I didn't want to have to quarantine after being around all those people so that I could be around my parents. But we're doing that, and I'm fixing to leave when I get through with this, going to the office to do voiceovers for the next two shows. The next two shows are turkey hunting shows, and one of them is a mountain hunting turkey expedition in New Mexico, where Brad Ferris, if I remember right, it was 12 hours and 30 minutes we stayed on one turkey. Me, Troy, Lake, and Brad Ferris. Brad Ferris had the gun. We stayed on him for 12 and a half hours, and Brad finally killed him. What a incredible, this turkey is huge. I laid him down, caped him out, and laid him down next to an Eastern. The Eastern looks like a pope. This thing is so big. Anyway, I'm doing that. I really am enjoying shooting sporting clays. I'm competitively shooting and learning more about proper handling of a shotgun, more than I ever thought I ever would be able to learn. I kind of collect. I do collect a side-by-side, nice side-by-side hammer guns is what they are, and I really enjoy that. So I just love wing shooting. So I'm taking my time up. I've been around the country shooting upland birds, and then of course I'm spending time, Mary and I, traveling a little bit and seeing parts of the country we hadn't seen and parts of the world we hadn't seen. Hoping that COVID will slow down enough to let us do that. So I'm very busy.
Hey, Will, I thought about you, and I shared this with you earlier, during deer season. My son Jordan, one of his real missions in life was to kill a buck with a 16 gauge single shotgun that was my grandfather's. And this gun, this is an old gun. And he set himself up in an incredible setup. And then here comes this beautiful 8-point chasing a doe about 30 yards with a single shot slug and drops it in its place. And he literally called me with tears in his eyes because the moment I mean, first of all, it's exciting to have that moment, but his goal was the gun was mine, then it was my father's, then my grandfather's, now Jordan's got it. And it was just a special moment. First of all, it's a special gun, but on top of that, that's a special memory, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Just last night, I was at a friend's house. He said, I was bringing him something I had for him, and he said, come in, I got to show you this. And he ran me upstairs, and there was this buck, one of those bucks that was mounted many, many years ago that look, you've seen them in stores or in the Cracker Barrel. They just look horrible. And this buck had a gorgeous rack. He said, my granddaddy, when he passed away, I told his wife, my grandmother, I said, I want two things. I want that buck that Papa killed in 1958. At the time in Louisiana, it was a world record. And he said, and I want the gun he killed him with. So what you just talked about your son and that 16-gauge single shot, and my friend Bubba is showing me this last night. This is what it's all about in Mississippi.
Leading the conversation on Mississippi's outdoors. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're having a terrific conversation with my dear friend, Will Primos. And you know what's interesting, Will, when you and I talk, I don't care if we're talking about low tides in Biloxi Bay, about, getting gas in a boat, the story you were just telling about the friend who just wanted that generational buck, mount and that gun, whatever we talk about, I don't care what it is. I mean, the love of the outdoors literally perpetuates every dimension of life, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It links us all together, especially family. It's incredible.
It is very special. So look, turkey season's coming up. How excited are you to get out in the woods in Mississippi and shoot a bird?
Well, first off, I can't believe it's already here. Holy smoke. January and February just went poof, just
right.
Flew by us. And today is my friend Ron Jolly's birthday. Ron ran the Primos Truth video series department there at Primos for a long time, went on to Alabama and worked for the state. Today is his 70th birthday, and I'll be 70 Wednesday. So time goes on, and here we're going into my first turkey hunting season, being an old man, I guess you could say. I never thought about being old till I thought about being 70. And then it hit me and went, dang it. At least I made it to 70. But I cannot wait. I think I know where I'll be. If not with Brad Ferris, I'm going to be at a place by myself, and I'm just going to sit there and soak it in. When the birds start singing and the world starts coming alive, and if I get to hear a turkey, it's just that much better.
Well, look, one of the things that I have done for many, many years is I walk and run and do the bike and work out weights 3 days a week. And I am really dedicated and have for over 40 years. I haven't really missed a week in 40 years.
Good for
you.
People
ask me what keeps me going. Well, one is I feel better as I get older. And it makes you focus on eating correctly and all those things. But the things I enjoy doing, whether it's, going up into the hills, deer hunting, or going offshore with my sons, involves physical fitness. But when Jordan Blissett and Lake Pickle talk about you and your commitment to staying fit, it's pretty significant what you're doing to be able to go out and walk across mountains, isn't it?
Well, my watch told me that last week I had a perfect week. I exercised every day. But I missed today, getting ready for this show with you, and had a lot of things on the plate. I did not exercise today, so maybe this afternoon.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, just real quick, we're going to talk about the Conservation Outdoor Trust Fund here shortly. As it relates to Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett, their Truth About Hunting podcast has really continued to evolve. It's incredible what those
they
kids
just had a podcast live event in Starkville and had over 200 people, I understand, show up. One guy drove from Florida to be a part of it. Isn't that something?
Isn't that cool? That's so cool. Well, you know why it's successful? They're passionate.
Yes, they are.
They love what they're doing. They're really, really excellent communicators. And so when you have a passion for something and you're able to communicate, it makes a difference. And they're touching people, not just in Mississippi, but across the United States. And one of the reasons I bring them up is this, that whether it's you our friends at Mossy Oaks, or people like Lake and Jordan and Brad and so many others, these ambassadors that I call you, as you represent Mississippi to the rest of the world, for that matter. Mississippi is the capital of outdoors in the United States. I say it over and over again. You're going to find aspects of what we do here better in certain places, but you're not going to find a collection of those things like you can find here. As one guest said, you can shoot a duck in the morning in the Delta and then go catch a redfish in the afternoon. What a special place this is. And we have to lead when it comes to conservation efforts. And we have an opportunity now to do that. And that's with the Conservation Outdoor Trust Fund. This is really a pinnacle moment for our state, isn't it, Will?
It is, but I will have to remind you, ducks and redfish do not compare to turkeys and crappie.
There you go.
Same day.
On every dimension, man, for sure.
Yeah. But no doubt.
We're going to talk about where you can catch a 3-pound crappie in the second half of this show. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay. So the Conservation Steward Trust Fund, it's so important for us to lead in this, and everybody at Primos is so aware of this particular bill and how bad we need it. Lake and Jordan are starting to share it on their podcast. I just don't understand why we can't move quicker, stronger, more leadership toward getting it passed. I mean, we're one of only 2 states. I understand Louisiana has made steps, and they're fixing to have it passed. So Mississippi's going to be last again. But there's no way to get matching dollars. We're leaving millions of dollars left untapped for the people of Mississippi, for the outdoors men and women of Mississippi. So it's a no-brainer that how much this would affect and help all of us enjoy the outdoors.
Well, as we know, it passed the House 117-4. Senate passed their version, but it's similar to last year's version, which I called it kind of a toothless version. It didn't really have a lot of meat to it. I'm praying that the leadership on both sides, Senator Whaley on the Senate side, Senator Kincaid on the, Representative Kincaid on the House side, can come together and with support from the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor and all others who are really strongly focused on why Mississippi needs to continue to be the capital of the outdoors in the United States. We need to lead the way on this issue. And what's happening is all these matching funds that are mostly in the Farm Bill, I might add. The Farm Bill is, it's private land, and that's where, we had not up to 90% of the land in Mississippi is private land. We've got to roll this thing forward and begin to grab the incredible number of matching funds that are available to us so we can do projects that are about wildlife habitat creation and so many other innovative approaches that can make conservation one of the most important things we leave our generations to come.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've said it before. I guess I'll say it again, that water flows downstream. And no matter where you have land, whether it's private or public, when you make an improvement on that land, it's going to affect a whole lot more down below you, public and private. You can't have true conservation without affecting private land. Aldo Leopold said that. I mean, he's been gone a long time. What a visionary he was. He got it back then.
Well, the main thing we're looking at now is that we're still in the process, and it's in Senator Neil Whaley's hands now as chairman of the committee on the Senate side. And, I had the opportunity to visit with Bill Kincaid. I saw Senator Whaley as well recently. And, Senator Whaley said he's going to do what he can. And, Representative Kincaid is like super focused on this. Listen, the House and Senate are full of conservationists. They're full of outdoorsmen. And who can hear the compelling reasons why we need to create a fund? The fact that we need a dedicated trust fund so we can go get federal matching dollars. Who can hear this story and what we need to do to lead and not be 100% for finding and leading toward a resolution so we can have a trust fund? That's what I'm urging people to do, and I know that's what you are as well.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how somebody can get behind that. And if you will take the time to go to some of the states and look at what they've done with the matching dollars and how much matching dollars they've gotten, 2 and 3 times what they put in themselves. And then the projects that they've done, just look at the on the ground, the grassroots, the ground level work that was done with these dollars in these states. Georgia is a perfect example. It will flabbergast you. And I'm going, and we can't get that done here?
Yeah. Hey, when you talk to conservation leaders across the state, which I have the opportunity to do here on this show and my show Coast View, that is targeted on coastal Mississippi and toward coastal Mississippi, what I've learned is that the biggest challenge, and you've seen this throughout your life, the biggest challenge we have in Mississippi, and this goes for other states as well, is the loss of wildlife habitat. If we don't stay focused on recreating habitat, we're not going to have, the incredible generational opportunities that we have today passing to our kids and our kids' kids, are we?
It's no doubt. Wildlife, wild critters need good habitat, and the habitat is very specific to different needs. Just look at the bobwhite quail. When we took his habitat away, we don't have the quail like we used to. When you've got good duck hunting, you've got good habitat, you've got good food, you got what they need.
Yeah. And I would say the same thing for like reefs in coastal Mississippi. The opportunity to, when you build a reef, the fish come. It's amazing. But what I like about the opportunity to get the Nature Conservancy, Ducks Unlimited, Wildlife Mississippi, and others involved in this effort, we get to learn from their innovative efforts in these other states, and we get to adopt them here. And we create a competitive nature to it. So last word, Will, and we'll have to go to the second half of the show, but last word from you, my friend.
Those conservation organizations do it all day long, in and out, every day. They know what they're doing.
They do know what they're doing. Will, thank you so much, man. We'll stay in touch. In fact, we'll come back to you in a week or two and check in with you, and you and I can chat more about the Conservation Trust Fund and what we need to do as it relates to that. Hopefully,
I'm sure I'll talk to you before turkey season, but if I don't, may the great monarch of the spring woods sound his presence over his domain on opening morning.
100%. When we come back, we're going to talk fishing in Mississippi. We'll see you after this break.
Fall football, a Gulf Coast sunset.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed visiting with my friend Will Primos. What an ambassador he is, not just for Mississippi, not just across Mississippi, but really across this nation. And I would suspect that people from all over the world pay attention to the Primos brand. And Will's incredible passion for the outdoors. We're going to continue to work on being the capital of the outdoors in the state of Mississippi by staying focused on the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. And I really appreciate Will joining me just to kind of get an update on what's going on in his world and to share his passion for why we've got to have a dedicated funding source for conservation efforts in this state. So now let's shift gears and move over to my friends, Jerry Brown, the Fisheries Bureau Director, and Keith Mills, the fisheries biologist for Northwest Mississippi for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. How you guys doing?
Good, fine. Good morning.
Good. It's good to see you. Hey, Jerry. So look, you have a lot of responsibilities when you think about what you do. We're gonna just kind of give me a high level view of what the Fisheries Bureau Director is all about, and then I want to find out where your passion for the outdoors comes from. But let's start with, what do you have to say grace over in any given day?
Well, we have about 9 different programs from our fish hatcheries to our fisheries management side, which is a biologist like Keith in each region. We have a boat ramp, construction and boating access program, managing aquatic vegetation, nuisance aquatic species, so fishing rodeos and outreach. So it's a lot of different programs within just the Bureau, but
yeah, I like what you're doing too, and I hear this from countless others who are involved in the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, is this incredible focus on youth and why that's important. And one of the most important legacies we could leave is to bring as many young people into the fold as possible, so that they can enjoy sort of the generational benefits of this incredible outdoors we have access to in Mississippi. So, Jerry, where did your love of the outdoors come from?
Well, that started off as a child growing up on a small farm in Amite County. So we grew up on the Homachita River, and my dad and grandmother had a pond there, and I grew up at an early age going to the pond with her and fishing and hunting, there. So that's kind of where it began for me.
It gets in your blood. It's just part of your DNA, isn't it?
It does. So going to college later on and starting to work with wildlife while I was in college, just kind of put me in a field of something I really enjoyed, and it was a great match for me.
So where did the notion that fisheries would be where you'd spend your career? Where'd that come from?
I think that was very early in my career, but it happened during college. We went and had a stream ecology class, and we went up in Missouri for that class, and we started floating streams and catching critters and looking at running nets for fish, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm like, you can make a living doing this? And so my professor said, absolutely. And it kind of started there.
That's awesome. Hey, one of the things that Will and I talked about before you guys joined us was, I say it every week that we're the capital of the outdoors in the U.S. And you may find a dimension over here that's maybe better, over there that's a little bit better. But when you see the collection of outdoors opportunities we have in Mississippi, whether it be offshore fishing or deer, duck hunting in the Delta, or turkey hunting, some of the best in the world right here in this state. And one of the things I said, well, this is one of the few places you can go, as my friend Alex Littlejohn from the Nature Conservancy says, and shoot a duck in the morning and go catch a redfish in the afternoon. And then Will debated me and said, well, what about, I'll top you by saying we can go get a turkey, 1 minute and go catch a 3-pound crappie the next. But it is incredible when you look at all these incredible dimensions we have access to as it relates to the outdoors. We are the capital of the outdoors in the United States, aren't we, buddy?
Yeah, we have a lot of opportunities that we're blessed with here in Mississippi, from, like you said, hunting and fishing. I actually had a story very similar to what Will said back in several years ago. Shot a buck with a bow and got my deer that morning, and hooked the boat up that afternoon and went crappie fishing in October. So we are definitely blessed with a lot of opportunities here.
Well, the bass and crappie spawning season is just around the corner, isn't it?
It is. A lot of people, hunting season is over for deer hunting anyway. And, people are starting to go to our lakes more. You're starting to see more people in the parking lots kind of itching to get outside if it'll warm up. I think the last few days has been pretty cool, but I think this week is going to be upper 60s, low 70s in a lot of places. So there'll be a lot of people ready to get out and go fishing.
That's cool. Hey, Keith, let's bring you into the fold real quick, if you don't mind.
All right.
So you're a fisheries biologist in Northwest Mississippi. What do you have to say grace over on any given day?
What do I do? What?
Yeah, what do you have to say grace over? What's in your area of responsibility? Yeah.
Well, we have 4 large flood control reservoirs, Corps of Engineer reservoirs. That's our primary area of work, and those get a tremendous amount of fishing, and mostly crappie fishing.
Yeah, well, that's good. So where did your love of the outdoors come from?
I grew up in the woods. I was raised up in the woods in about 200 yards above the state fish hatchery in North Carolina, up in the mountains, trout hatchery. And in fact, my closest neighbors were the guys that worked for North Carolina Department of Wildlife down there. That's where I would go trick-or-treating on Halloween. That was our only neighbor. So that's where I got started trout fishing, when I was a kid. And I've known since I was 13 that I wanted to get into fisheries management.
One of my favorite books is by a guy by the name of Middleton, and the name of the book is called On the Spine of Time. And it's about the time he spent fishing the streams of North Carolina and the way he described it. And the way he described it, I mean, it could be Will Primos talking about turkey hunting or me talking about catching a redfish or whatever, but the way he describes it, is so incredibly poetic. You get to you really understand that actually catching the fish is just a byproduct of the actual experience. This, the tying the fly and the tying it on and the incredible melodic, gestures of the fly rod and the beauty of the stream and all of that. You kind of got to take all that in as a child, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Actually, I started tying flies when I was in, I guess, about 8th grade. High school, I was selling flies to the local hardware store. Didn't make much money, but I had fun. And fly fish for trout and also bass and brim.
Yeah. That's really cool. So coming back over to you, Jerry. So as the Fisheries Bureau Director, if you had to say what's your overall goal in your life in terms of fisheries in Mississippi, what's your hope that we would accomplish?
Well, just promoting fishing in general and enhancing our fisheries as much as possible. Research and bringing youth in, definitely, but just keeping the opportunities available, enhancing them as much as possible for our anglers.
And if you think about the access that Mississippians have to some of the most incredible bass fishing and crappie fishing in the United States, we're very lucky to have that access, aren't we?
We are, and we've got many. The agency has many state fishing lakes. We also have lakes on our state parks. These are all managed by our fisheries biologists across the state. They're stocked and they're sampled each year and looked at. So many are fertilized, but yet we produce some really nice bass in these lakes and crappie as well.
It is. You look at the list of state fishing lakes: Lake Mary Crawford, which reopened in May of 2021, Lake Bill Waller, the Neshoba County Lake, Calling Panther Lake. The list just really goes on and on. Hey, we didn't have a lot of rain, and as we approached hunting season, that actually affected the deer season. To what extent did the lack of rain affect you guys?
Not too much. We had, not in my area, now Keith making us pound more on the flow control reservoirs, but as far as our lakes, our state lakes and state park lakes, we may saw the lake levels come down some just from evaporation more than anything, but levels did not cause any access issues. So I think we'll be fine. We've been getting some rain over the last few weeks that's brought the levels back up, so I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I saw that too. We had one up. I have a place up in the Mississippi Delta, and we had 4 inches all at one time after really not having a whole lot of rain. So you can imagine that was a little bit of a flash flood scenario for us at our place. But anyway, if you think about crappie fishing in general, we've got some of the best crappie fishing in Mississippi. We got oxbow lakes like Lake Washington and Eagle Lake and Bee Lake and reservoirs at Ross Barnett and boy, all I hear is about Grenada and how great Grenada is. When we come back, we're going to talk more about both bass and crappie, but I want to talk about the arc of slabs. I just love that phrase, the arc of slabs. And we'll continue our conversation with Jerry Brown and Keith Mills from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We'll be back after this break.
We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the outdoors. So let's talk about it. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're having a great conversation with my friends Jerry Brown and Keith Mills. They're in the fisheries arena of the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And we've been talking just generally about, all things fishing, especially bass and crappie. But, coming over to you first, Jerry, I have always been told this and understand this, the whole time I've been growing up, is that the crappie fishing in Mississippi is just incredible. Why is it so special here?
We got to really known across the country with the 4 flow control reservoirs: Grenada, Arca Butler, Sardis, and Enid. But we've always had really great crappie fisheries, especially in our oxbow lakes. Like you mentioned, Lake Washington, which is up near Greenville. We got Eagle Lake, that's always really been popular. Down in southwest Mississippi, you have Lake Mary. So depending on the river level, those are really great places to fish. But I think Grenada and those lakes have really put us on the map. A lot of articles and TV shows to Crappie Masters coming, a lot of things that really advertise those lakes. And it's not too many places you can go and just catch a 3-pound crappie very often. So, but we're blessed with a lot of crappie fishers across the state, in a lot of our lakes and public reservoirs like Ross Barnett and Okeechobee over near Meridian, very popular as well.
Hey, so coming back over to you, Keith Mills. I love the term arc of slabs. First of all, where did that come from? Where did that term come from?
Okay. The term itself came from In Fisherman magazine. I think they did an article around 2005 or 6 that featured the 4 flood control lakes. And in 2005, we'd had a record-setting tournament catch. And that was about the time, there was, internet was starting to boom real good, and these lakes were kind of locally well known, but they were not so much all around the country. And of course, that between the internet and the article and In Fisherman sort of put these lakes on the map, and things have just been kind of going great guns ever since.
The arc of slabs. The arc of slabs. What a cool phrase. But when you think, we'll talk about a big speckled trout, and say, man, it was a slab. It was just a slab. And when you think about that, you think of this like thick fillet that came off of it. But you've seen some big crappie, haven't you, buddy?
Oh, yes.
So what's the biggest one you've seen so far?
The biggest one that I've seen that was actually weighed was about 3.87 that was brought in a tournament. Had one that a gentleman caught in the Grenada Spillway last spring that was a little over 4, but he didn't have it weighed on certified scales, just some hand scales. I mean, it was a big crappie. He got a picture of it and then filleted it, so there was no way to tell really how big it was. But I laid my hands on one in back of Billy's Creek in Enid many years ago that was, I would have estimated over 4 pounds, but we were tagging fish at the time, and we weren't weighing and measuring; we were just tagging them. And but I've seen a lot over 3.
That's incredible. So if I want to go catch a 3-pound crappie, where do I go and how do I catch it?
Well, any of the 4 flood control reservoirs. Now, I'm not going to speak to the Delta waters. I'm not familiar with them, but on our lakes, any of them will produce a 3-pound fish. And the state and world record white crappie is from Enid. But I would say the best chances are Grenada and Arca-Butler right now. Now, we had a tournament on Sardis January 29th, I believe it was, and there were 6 fish 3 pounds and over weighed in there. So, that, like I said, it can come from any lake.
What's the best method?
It depends on the time of year. For spring, obviously, most folks are looking for spawning crappie. They're generally fishing shallow. Folks that do that tend to pick up males that are working spawning beds. The females, folks that are trying to catch the heavier fish, say for a tournament or whatever like that, target the females that are generally out a little deeper water. They only move in, to spawn, and then they move back out. And those are usually targeted either with advanced electronics or, just trolling, single pole fishing. Usually you're looking jig and minnow combination.
Yeah, you're hearing Keith Mills talk, and we got less than a minute left, Jerry Brown. You're surrounded with some really dedicated people, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I definitely am. We've got a great team. We are from our biologists to our lake managers. We have, people that work at each of these facilities. We have 20 state lakes across the state. So hatchery staff, support staff. So yes, sir, I'm definitely blessed with a great team.
Jerry Brown and Keith Mills from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks. What a great conversation. The arc of slabs. Hey, what we'll do, we'll come back together again in the spring and just check in and see how the season is going. It's been a pleasure to get to visit with both of you guys. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you for having
So
me.
anyway, have a great day, and look, like I always say at the end of the show, stay safe. Pay attention. Don't take safety for granted when you go out and enjoy the outdoors, especially if you're on a boat. These days, you want to make sure you have everything you need to stay safe. We'll see you next Monday. See you, and have a great day.